Can you hear me now? I'm sure you can hear me now. Right? You can hear me? Okay, so what I said was I was opening my notes for the fake Uber, was what they're calling it, the fake Uber driver trial. And that is the victim, Samantha Josephson. So we're going to go through that. I've typed a lot of notes. I type them in, like I said, on Word while I watch the trial. I watch it on my TV, on Court TV. You can also watch this one on Law and Crime, which is good for you guys, because if you don't have Court TV, you can watch it on the Law and Crime Network. It's being shown on both, so that's good. I was opening up my notes. That's when I got that call. And that's what I'm going to do. We have a lot of testimony. I'm going to tell you that after we're done going over the testimony, what I'm going to do is just address a couple of things, because I just don't want lies being put out there as truth. Okay? But that'll be after. I'm going to do the trial first, okay? And you may look at that hashtag, what's my name? I'm also going to talk about that because that is a law that Samantha's parents, and it goes by the acronym SAMI, okay, about the things you should check before you get into any type of ride share. And so that is one of the things. Say my name. What's my name? Write to the driver before you get in the car, what's my name? And they should have your name, okay? And then you check the license plates and, some the other things. I'll go through that with you, what that means, what's my name, all right? But I'm going to start with the trial first. Let me go to my notes, okay? I just have to get my images up here. Hang on. That's what I was doing when I got the buzz on my watch. Okay. So today was a busy day in court there. The defendant is Nathaniel Rowland in this trial. And one of the people that took the stand was his girlfriend at the time of 3 weeks, Maria Howard. And we will look into her testimony. She gave a lot of detail into this. But first they took some law enforcement testimony that we're going to go over first before we go into Marie's things. I'm just trying to get... Okay, I've got that one for that. Trying to get... All right, well, we'll start with the law enforcement first. Let me pull my notes up here. Just pull my notes up. Where did my notes go? Here they are. Okay. So, prosecution's first witness of the day was called, and it was Sullivan Lee. It's one of the turkey hunters who found Samantha Josephson's body in the wooded area of Clarendon County. Now, Anders said that he and a childhood friend, Ryan Knowlton, had been hunting on Knowlton's land near the area of New Zion, which is about 30 miles away from Sumter. He describes the area where her body was found and saying it was down a firebreak road off of a dirt access road. Okay. And Anders said that he was scouting the field for turkeys, and on the way back, something caught his eye off to the left. And then he said he stopped and he kept looking. And the more that he looked, the more it looked like a body, so he called his friend Ryan Knowlton. He said that they did not expect to see anything like that, and they took a few more steps into the trees. It was not very thick, the woods, and the area was in the middle of nowhere. It's just farmland and woods. And there's no reason, that anybody would go there other than, them for hunting. So then Anders testified that himself and Ryan called someone named Henley Bubba Morris, who's a game warden that lives nearby. And Anders said that he knew of Nathaniel Rowland from attending East Clarendon High School, but that Nathaniel was a couple of years ahead of him. And that was the end of that. And then taking the stand next was the Natural Resources Officer, Morris. And Morris has worked for the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources for over 26 years, lives in New Zion. Upon arriving on this scene, he observed the body, and he notified the Clarendon County Sheriff's Department because the body was found on private land. The Sheriff's Department arrived on the scene, and they reported back to the department and notified the Sheriff's Department to involve the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, which is referred to as SLED. The officer was able to identify the body as Samantha Josephson's from the Be on the Lookout Missing Persons Bulletin from Columbia. The officer reached out to the Columbia Police Department for verification of identification. Columbia Police Department officer Jeffrey Kraft took the stand next, and he said he was the officer who arrested Nathaniel Rowland in 5 Points the evening that Samantha's body was found. He said that his patrol area was the Rosewood and 5 Points area, and he was searching for evidence in the Samantha Josephson case. He was looking for a late model, dark-colored Chevy Impala or Samantha. Dash cam and body cam footage showed the events of the evening as Kraft first approached Nathaniel Rowland during a traffic stop at 5 Points. On the dash cam video, at around 2 a.m. on Hardin, approaching Blossom, heading to 5 Points, Kraft encountered an Impala fitting the description of the car wanted in the case. Kraft initiated his blue lights on after the Impala turned left onto Blossom, and again a left going the wrong way onto the one-way Saluda Avenue. The vehicle shows that Kraft and another officer approached the vehicle and they made contact with the driver. At first, Nathaniel was cooperative. And upon approaching the vehicle, Kraft said he could smell marijuana. He asked Nathaniel for his license and ID. Nathaniel said he had no license on him. He admitted to smoking marijuana and was asked to step out of the vehicle. The officer told Nathaniel that the vehicle matched the description of one that is a vehicle of interest, and then you see Nathaniel take off in a run into the neighborhood away from 5 Points. Officers chased him down by foot until they lost him near Waccamaw Avenue and Blossom Street. Nathaniel was apprehended on Congaree Avenue, and after a search for marijuana in the car, uncovered a rose gold cell phone and a set of keys on a pink keychain under the seat, blood and a backpack on the rear seat, and other evidence in the trunk, cleaning supplies and bleach. Kraft determined that they needed a higher level of crime scene processing. A female passenger in the front seat of the Impala during the traffic stop and chase was temporarily detained. Following Officer Kraft, Columbia Police Officer Justin Nissia took the stand. Body cam footage of the officer showed his part in the apprehension of Nathaniel Rowland. He was the officer who arrested Rowland after Rowland ran from the traffic stop. He handcuffed Rowland, frisked him, and asked if he was okay. EMS was called because Nathaniel said he wasn't feeling well and he wasn't able to breathe properly. He was Mirandized and seated on the sidewalk until EMS arrived. EMS arrived, evaluated him, and determined that he was okay. He was released back into the custody of the Columbia Police Department, and they recovered a cell phone and a cap from Rowland and delivered the suspect to Investigations Department at Columbia Police Department. Next person to take the stand was Columbia Police Officer James Nunes. Nunes is a patrolman assigned to the 3rd District. He was on patrol that night, March 29th. He was a responding officer to that traffic stop. Nunes was about half a mile away from the stop when he heard there was a foot chase, and he went to assist on Saluda Avenue. He said that Officer Kraft signaled to him to assist with the apprehension of Nathaniel Rowland, and Nunes exited his patrol vehicle. He activated his body cam, and footage from Nunes' body cam shows that the officer Mirandized Rowland and Officer Nissia assisting Rowland in sitting him up straight so that he might breathe properly. Nunes meets the arriving EMS responders and asks them to check out Nathaniel and make sure that he is healthy, and inform them that Nathaniel was just involved in a foot chase. After medical evaluation, EMS clears Nathaniel and releases him back to the Columbia Police Department custody. He's placed in the back of Nunes' patrol car. And then they broke for lunch, okay? But before they did that, other witnesses, including former Alvin S. Glenn intake officer Travis Parnell Myers, and who booked Rowland into the Richard County Jail, SLED agent Brian Hudak, which we've heard from him before. We've heard from him, I believe it was in the Timothy Jones case, Brian Hudak. And the reason I know that so well, because I think he is a brother of someone that my sister knows. Certified expert in digital forensics who was tasked to try and retrieve data from the Impala's Human Response and Entertainment Interface module, and a CPD investigator, James Fisher, who works with the Special Victims Unit, was tasked first with obtaining video from a Wendy's on Garner Ferry Road that helped track down Rowland's movements. Okay, so when they came back from lunch, then we have Carly Shealy. Now, Carly Shealy, he is with a surveillance company that had cameras all over the Columbia area there. And I don't know much about what this testimony was used for, but he got on the stand. They asked him, what he did. He said they have camera boxes around that records anything in front of them. Majority of their clients that request video, they then go in and get it for them. His job is to respond to requests for video and retrieve that video. He did receive a request to get video from the Columbia Police Department investigator for video on March 28th, 29th, and 30th. So he verified the boxes and that he pulled that video. And then prosecutors had no further questions. The defense came on and asked how his boxes are identified. He says through numbers. He goes over the placement and the angles. When the investigator makes a request, you go to the boxes, you pull the footage. Yes, that's what I do. Okay. And then she went on to question him a little bit about if he had specific requests for Saluda Avenue and Hardin Street. Yes. She asked logistics questions about the placement of boxes. She asked about a box near a gourmet shop. And do you recall if you were asked to pull footage from one near a gourmet shop? He said, well, I wasn't sure, if that is. She said, but if you were, you would? Yes, of course I would. And then that was no further questions. And now comes our Maria Howard. Okay, she was dating Nathaniel Rowland in March of 2019. Now, she flip-flopped her story between the prosecution and the defense when she was called to the stand as a witness. here's what happened. She says she knew him a long time back. Well, you'll hear it. And then okay, I'll let you hear it. No. Okay, so they went into when she moved, to Columbia. She said 2011, at the age of 17. Then she graduated. She went to college. What did you do when you weren't in college? She partied. She was having fun. And did you meet the defendant? Yes. When did you meet him? She said she met him on a weekend home from college. They met at a club in 5 Points. They were friends. Did you ever date? She said, well, you could say that, but it was more of a friendship. Did you stay friends till March of 2019? Yes. Did you know him March of 2019? Yes. He came to her job in McDonald's. You worked there. He was going through the drive-thru. Yes. Okay. She was out there smoking, she said. Okay. And he pulls up and he says, and she said that he's like, hey, what are you doing, Maria? Because he hadn't seen her in a while, and they exchanged numbers. And then he gave her a ride home to her duplex, and they went into what that was like. It was an apartment, but it's more than one story. And then they quickly started seeing each other every day from then, and she said, yes, dating. And did you have, sexual relations? Yes. You have a daughter, 4 years old. Yes, a daughter, 4 years old, Chloe. And she said she would see him for long periods of time. They hung out. They'd watch TV. They'd eat. She knew that Nathaniel liked to go to 5 Points. And what is 5 Points? It's a place to hang out and have a good time, is what he told her. And were you going there with him? They asked. No. She says, I was working double shifts. Okay. And did he stay over during this time? And she said, they said around the time of the murder. She said, this is funny. So she would say she would go to bed, and sometimes he would stay, but he would get up in the early parts of the, like maybe 1, 2 in the morning, and he would go out. But then he would promise to be back in the morning, and it was really weird. Okay. Was anybody else living there? And she said, yes, she had a roommate, but then she had a problem with the roommate because her roommate did not have the same standards of cleanliness. And they said, what does that mean? She said, well, her daughter would urinate on the floor and she wouldn't even clean it up. And so you had a letter notarized to kick her out of the apartment, and you put it in the glove box of Nathaniel's car. Yes. Why? Because I was going to go to the bank and get it notarized. And he was going to take her to her mom's house to do laundry, but he didn't end up taking her. And she said, what am I going to do? I need my work shirt washed. And he said, I will take it to my sister's house and wash it for you. So the next day, she said he took the shirt from her. Thursday afternoon, what did you do? She said she was watching TV, something on the Ion channel. She said she went to bed about 12 or 1 o'clock, and they asked if he slept there. She said he was downstairs. What was he wearing? And he was wearing these windbreaker pants and a hoodie. And she said when you went to sleep, he was downstairs? Yes. She doesn't know if he left. Is he there when you wake up? No, she said. And what time was that? She said 5:30 to 6. And what did you do? She said, I texted him, I called him, didn't go through. And she had said he had promised her he would be there in the morning because she was scared, and he was supposed to stay that night all night because the roommate wasn't there or something. So she calls, she gets no answer. She's upset. She has to get to work. She can't be late. She calls her mom. Then she could see through the window that he had arrived, and she went out there and asked him where her shirt was. And he gave her the shirt, and it was wet. And she says, why is my shirt wet? And he said he was going to dry it. And then she looked for her visor, her McDonald's visor, which she said had been in the back window, and it wasn't there. And he told her it had blood on it, and it's in the country. She asked why, and he said, mind your business. Okay? And then after he showed up, he left right away. He said he was going to take her shirt. See, this is when she changed her story, because now she claims he didn't have the shirt at that time. He said he was going to go get the shirt now. And he had to go take his nephew to school. And so he apparently went to his sister's house where he got the shirt wet. He came back 7 to 10 minutes later. He gives her the wet shirt. She puts the wet shirt on. Okay. And he said, I'll take you to work now. They stop at a convenience store first. They get gas. And it's when they're getting gas that she notices there's blood in the car. Okay. She didn't notice it before then. How did you notice it? She turned around and saw it. Okay. So she said that he was supposed to pick her up that night when they got home. He didn't show up. And a coworker took her home because she said he looked really tired. And she gave him the keys to her apartment when he dropped her off and said, go back and sleep. And he said I was going to clean his car. And when she asked about the blood, he told her, mind your business. And that was, okay. And when she got home, she was banging on the door because she didn't have the keys. She gave them to him. And she said he looked shook when he answered the door like a ghost. He had the same clothes on. She then goes inside, takes a shower. They asked if he took a shower. She said no. She asked him, why haven't you not washed up in days? He didn't give her a response. She gets dressed. She goes outside. Now he's outside cleaning the car. She said she sees a bottle of bleach on the seat. The car smells heavily of chlorine. It's so strong. They asked, did you help him clean the car? She said, nope, not my car. They said, did you see him take any items out of the car? Did you go back in the car? She said, yes, she had to go to her mom's house. So she was going to drive to her mom's house. She had to adjust the seat. She had to go to an ATM to get rent money. And she said while she was driving, he was putting on gloves and cleaning the car with wipes. She asked him why. He said, mind your business. He had on blue surgical gloves. She said the bleach bottle was on the back seat. And then at some point she realized that she said she was so out of it this time because she was so tired. And she said she remembered her daughter was at daycare and it was almost 8 o'clock at night. And her mother was supposed to pick her up, but she didn't. So she had to go pick her daughter up. And they said, where does she sit? And she said she sits in back in a booster seat. This is the part I don't understand. Not one of these people said was the booster seat covered with blood. Was the booster seat there when, the night before? It just doesn't even make sense. And then she said he didn't want to pick up her daughter from daycare because he didn't want her in the car because of the blood in it. But she said she had no choice. And she put her in the car. They went back home. They stayed the rest of the night at the house. His friends came over. She doesn't remember their names. They were there to see him. She said, then they said they were leaving. They were going out. And they didn't say where they were going. They were going into his car. And she asked, why drive a car with blood in it? And they asked what he was wearing. And she said he had put on a gray sweatsuit at that time. Then she mentions that there was a phone in the car. It looked like a female's phone. It was a rose gold iPhone, and it was in perfect condition. They said, did you ask why it was there? She said that he said he found it. And why would you think it's a female's phone? And so she said it was in perfect condition. And she said he said he was going to transfer it to her number. And she said she didn't want it. She hates iPhones. She only likes Androids. Then after that, she said she saw something about missing Samantha Josephson and the car, and everything started to make sense. And she was scared. She didn't call the police. She had to get herself together. She had to take her daughter somewhere. And then they go on to, did the police speak to you? Yes. And she said the first time they came right after a double shift where she had worked over 12 hours and she really needed sleep. She was tired, exhausted. She was still trying to be helpful. Then the next time they talked to her, did you cooperate? Yes. And she said they took her phone and looked at it for a long time. Did they give it to you back? Yes. She said they searched your house. And then they asked, do you remember if his phone was working on your phone on the 20th, 29th? She said his phone was not. He did not pay the bills. He had to be somewhere where there was Wi-Fi. And The prosecutor again said, when you said he was shook, where had he been? She said he was in her room, but he was not sleeping on the bed. He was sleeping on the floor. His clothes were dirty and they were bloodstained. They asked her what she noticed about his shoes, about her daughter's shoes. On her daughter's shoes, they had blood on the bottom of them, so she threw them out. They said that when they searched the house, she said they found marijuana. What did you do with that? She said she smoked at that time with him. They asked her about a dumpster where she could put stuff. They asked her if she put stuff there. And then they asked about head coverings. She said he would wear a do-rag, and they showed her a do-rag. One of them she recognized, and one of them she said she didn't. They asked her more about what he was doing when he was cleaning the car, and she said he was putting things in grocery store bags while cleaning, like wipes, etc. The morning of the 29th, what does he have on? She said again that hoodie and the green windbreaker pants, the green or blue windbreaker pants. Then they said, did he sleep in the bed with you? Then she said, yes, he did, but he took his pants off and he puts his pants beside the bed, and he was wearing Nike slides. I believe she said they were red and black. There were no further questions from the prosecution, and then the defense questioned her and said, okay, so on March 28th, Nate comes through the drive-thru at work. That night, he comes there, he talks to you, he brings you home, and he leaves. He comes back the next morning, takes her to work. First morning, he took her to work, he picked her up. You told the jury that you drove that car. She said, I only drove it with him there. And she said that was the day he was late picking you up for work. But he did anyway, right? He was just late? Yes. You saw dry blood in the car? Yes. When you got in? But you got in? Yes. And then later she says she didn't notice it when getting in. He drove you to work? And she says, yes, we stopped for gas. And then he dropped her off. And then they said, you put the wet shirt on? She said, I had to put the wet shirt on. I didn't have any other shirt. Later that same day, you got back in the car and you put your child in it at some point. Her car seat's back there. Again, they never asked her if the car seat had blood on it. Was it there in the morning when he picked you up? Yes. On the passenger side, but the back seat on the passenger side. Later that day, you put Chloe in after daycare. She gets blood on her how'd she get the blood on her shoes? She said she got blood on her shoes from stepping on the bloody floorboards. Okay, and they said this is 3 weeks that you moved into those apartments, and that's the time you were dating him. And she said yes, and she said sometimes they would stop at his sister's house, but they mostly stayed at her apartment. You testify, they asked that he would come to your house but not stay the night. She said, yes, ma'am, but he would be there when she woke up. You're a hard sleeper, yes, meaning sound sleeper. You said he would leave in the morning, early morning hours. She said, yes. How do you know this? She said, well, she would go to the bathroom at night and she knew that he was not there. So Thursday, they said you went to bed around 12 to 1, yes. And then they asked her if she spoke with Investigator Blackman. Yes. You remember telling Investigator Blackman that you fell asleep in bed around 1:30 at that time. You were watching TV in bed and you fell asleep at 1:30. You had a post on Snapchat. They talk about the hoodie, the windbreaker pants, and him in bed with her. But he wasn't there the next morning, correct? You woke up 5:30, 6 o'clock? Yes. And she was very upset again because he said he wasn't leaving that night, but he did. They said even though he never stayed the night before. And she said, no, we always left in the early morning hours, but why? What that particular day? And she said that was because she didn't have the roommate. So you woke up and he wasn't there. You texted him. It didn't go through because he didn't pay his bill. He needed Wi-Fi. You're upset that he's not there. You're going to be late. She said yes. And then he took your shirt to the sisters to wash it. Yes. And when he brought it back, it was wet. And when he comes to get you, what time did he come back? And she said she doesn't know, but she was at McDonald's by 7:45. So it was somewhere between 7 and 7:45, and that the first time he came and then went back to drop his nephew and get the shirt, was only gone 7 to 10 minutes. He said, I've got your shirt. I'll go get it. I have to take my nephew to school. I'll be back. When he comes back, you get in and you immediately notice the blood. She says, no, not until we get to the convenience store to get gas. At what point do you notice the sheet on the back seat? She says, at the store, because there's a sheet on the back seat of the car. She said, I just turned around and I looked in the back and I saw Chloe's seat. Again, she doesn't even mention that there's blood on Chloe's seat. She said, you can see it? Yes. Is the seat, what's the seat? She said, the seat was on top of the sheet. Okay, and then they go about that night when she gets home. Co-worker drives her home because he didn't pick her up even though he was supposed to. So you're banging on the door. And she said she couldn't reach him on the phone because he didn't pay the bill, remember, right? When she gets home, she takes a shower and then says that he started to clean his car. Work is about a 30-minute drive. She went out to talk to him. She saw bleach on the seat, and she saw him cleaning and the smell of chlorine, and he won't tell her anything. And she said, look, I need to go to my mama's to get something, and she had to get rent money. So he says, okay, you can drive. And she gets in the car. She stops at the ATM for rent money. They go to the mother's, and then they go back and pay the landlady. They talk about when they were driving. You see Nate put the gloves on. Yes. She said when we left to go to mom's, he put gloves on and he was cleaning with wipes. And you don't go to the police? No. You don't go to the police? He's cleaning his car like this? No. At some point, he pulls out a hunting knife, multi-tool, and he begins cleaning that? Yes. Where does he pull that out of? From the passenger door. And have you seen this before? Yes. Then you forget Chloe's at daycare. She says yes. And this is around 8 p.m.? Mm-hmm. You drive to daycare because your mom didn't get her, right? And then you get your child, and he allows you to drive with him. Yes. Her seat's in the car. Yes. Then you eventually end up back at your place again. Yes. You have friends come over. They're hanging out. Where are they hanging out? You're having a barbecue? No. She said they're hanging out where the cars are parked. Drinking? No, no one is drinking, she said. Okay, you ask him. Then remember, he says he wants to go out. He's leaving with the friends, and they're getting in that car. And she asks why he would drive a car with blood in it. And you see he changed clothes, but you don't know where or when he changed his clothes. She said, yes, that's correct. He left and came back. He left at some time? Yes. And he came back in different clothes? Yes. You don't know where he went? No. You didn't help him clean that car? No. So then she says, so if your DNA is on that cleaning stuff, then she goes, of course, my DNA would be on the cleaning stuff. He got it out of my house. Okay, and then she said you met with an investigator on April 3rd, and you talked to that investigator in a room, and there was also another investigator, and she said, yes, a female investigator. They asked you many questions? Yes. And they asked you about your daughter sitting in the back of that car, and you told the investigators you did not know blood was in the back seat. She said she did not know that blood was back there. You said you did not know the blood was back there, you would not have put her there. And she said, well, that was when I was exhausted and wore out, and I just didn't know, and that she cleared it up the next time she spoke with them. But you knew it was there. You said, you said, I wanted to see if Nate would tell me the truth and let me put my daughter back in the car. She said yes. At that time, she said that. They asked her if she knew of any other females that he was seeing. She said no. And then she said, but you eventually find out he was. And she said no, she didn't. Okay, so then you got some sleep and everything, and you met with an investigator again. Yes. They swabbed your mouth and they searched your home for the first time. Yes, Investigator Blackman said they got a search warrant and they're going to go to your house, and you told them that you didn't know the blood was there. She goes back to that. And after they came back and you were better rested, you told them something else. She said, yes, I was better rested. Okay, and they said, did Nate ever keep things at your house, like clothing and stuff? No, she said. Did they keep them in his car? No, he didn't. She's never saw any in his car. And they said, he told you that night, at Thursday night, he was going to stay that whole night? She said, yes. Previously, he didn't stay overnights, right? Yes, this was going to be an exception. And then that was the end of the questions for the defense. Then the redirect with the prosecution. They said, let's clarify. When you asked him that night, why did you ask him that night? And she said, because I didn't want to stay that night alone. And they said, well, why was that different? She said, because her roommate was not home. And they said, do you know the items they took from your house? Did you ever get them back? She said, no. They said, why? She said, I don't know. They said, did you ask for them? She said, no. Do you want them back? No. Do you know what they found? Do you know they found that tool and the bloody clothes in the trash? And she says, no. And then they say, when did you know about the bloody clothes? And she said, I knew when they pulled them out of the trash can. So I think what they were saying, you didn't know that he had put them there. You found them out when they pulled them out of the trash, and that the tool was there. Did you know prior? No. She asked they're talking about the defense, about putting Chloe in the car to see if Nate would tell the truth. And he said, no, I don't want her in the car. And she explained she had no choice. Okay, what was she going to do? She had to pick the kid up. And then they asked her, why, when you saw that blood, did you not get out of that car? She said, because you had to get to work. They said, who pays the bill? She said, me. How will bills be paid if you don't work? They won't be. Why did you drive that car? And she said, because I have no choice. Why did you not call the police? She said, I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. Okay, and they said, why did he not wash the clothes at his mother's house, at her mother's house? And she said, because my mother was leaving and I don't want to stay alone at her house. And he said he was going to wash the shirt at his sister's house. Okay, again, they asked, did he keep clothes at your house? No. Did he change clothes? And she said, yes, he did, but she doesn't know where. What was he wearing when you saw him when you got home? She said he was wearing the same clothes. And then they asked her if she could identify him, so she points him out. And they ask about his phone, okay? And she says it had a lock on it. It was Face ID. Again, they asked her if she asked about the blood in his car. She said yes. What did he say? He said, mind your business. Now, she had said something about a dog. So they said, what is this about a dog? She said, I asked him if he might have hit a dog and put that dog in the car to, for that blood. He said no. And did he give you a reason? He did not give you a reason. Okay, when you saw his car in the news, you said you put two and two together. Why didn't you call the police? She said she was scared for her life and the life of her child. And there was nothing further. And then the recross, they said, you told us you had no choice to get in that car to get rent money and get your daughter, but you had a choice when you went out in it to get cigarettes. And she said no. Okay, and then they have a crime scene unit. Lieutenant Todd Schneck with the SLED division, a special investigator, and he described his training qualifications before he went on to this testimony and said that he and his partner were assigned to process the crime scene where Samantha's body was found in Clarendon County, as well as the scene of Rowland's arrest and the car Rowland was found in. So after getting the search warrants and everything, they arrived at this site on Clarendon County about 6:30 p.m. on Friday, March 29th, where they found an aluminum beer can, 2 cigarette butts close to the crime scene, and they processed those as possible evidence. They said that Samantha's body was found laying on her back in a wooded area, and she appeared to have multiple stab wounds. Her shirt was up. Her platform sandals were broken but still attached by the ankle straps. Investigators observed stab wounds over much of her body, including her feet, and her fingernails appeared to be broken. An earring appeared to be missing from her left ear. It was never recovered, and they said an alternate light source showed that there was bruising over much of her body, and based on blood striations and her body and the lack of any trail of blood or evidence, it appeared that this was not the original crime scene and that she had been moved to that location. So they cleared that crime scene sometime after midnight, and they were called back out at 3 a.m. to process the scene at 600 Saluda Avenue, and that's where he was stopped after the foot chase. Okay, and items removed from the car prior to their arrival included, that's not after where he was stopped, that's where his car was stopped. So the items removed from the car prior to their arrival included 2 cell phones, a USB thumb drive, keys with a pink device attached, keys with a lanyard attached, a clear plastic bag, an edible, 2 do-rags, and they said that they photographed the car as they found it, including things that were clearly visible through the open doors and the open trunk. Some of those things were a yellow light that were documented about the car was a yellow light that indicated child door and window locks were engaged. So this was something some of them have the little mechanism on the door. This car apparently had one button to do that, and I believe it was in the front. Okay, and they saw that McDonald's visor with the suspected blood on it, that was in the trunk. Also, a white Yankee candle with suspected blood on it. The car was photographed, and then it was towed to the Columbia Police Department. When they got the car over there, they searched and documented the car as thoroughly as possible. There was a large amount of suspected blood found throughout the car, and footprints were documented inside a rear window. On rear passenger side floorboard, investigators found a bleach container with blood on the bottom of it. Clothing items found included a black leather jacket, a white jacket, and a white shirt. White and blue jacket, all showing suspected blood. In the driver's side door pocket, investigators found a Social Security card and a Wendy's receipt, an envelope with suspected blood on it, and a list on the back. In the trunk, investigators found a cleaning container with blood on it, along with the McDonald's visor and a white bag with suspected blood on it. Okay. And let me see here. And that was, hold on a minute. Where's my thing here? Because they ended at 6. Where's my other page here? I'm missing part of my thing, but I know they ended and then they'll be back tomorrow. Where the heck did that go? That part of my that didn't come through. Okay, so then just some other things to keep in mind. Was that Samantha was stabbed more than 100 times with a bladed weapon. Samantha's blood and hair was found in Nathaniel's car. Nathaniel Rowland was seen on video using Samantha's debit card and attempting to sell her cell phone in the hours after her death. Her blood was found on his clothes that he was wearing on the night of the murder. The murder weapon was found at that apartment. Cleaning products and rubber gloves were found at the home that he was in there. The child safety lock was on, when that car was being driven, and there was a video showing Samantha getting into that Chevy Impala. Also, the cell phone evidence tracked Nathaniel and Samantha's phones in the same locations, including where her body was located. So that is basically that for today, and tomorrow they'll be continuing with that. So we'll definitely be covering that. And I just want to tell you about the, let me see if there's any, where's my, I can't find the live chat. Where's the live chat? Where the heck did the live chat go? Hold on, I'm going to have to open up a new window because I don't know where my live chat went. I don't know where my video went. Hopefully everybody's still here. Let's see. Okay, hang on, guys. Let me just make sure you guys are still here. Okay, so who's been watching this trial? Before we go on to the other thing, is there anything that I missed that you need? Hi, Nana T. Anyone that's following the trial, did I miss anything that I should go over? Or anything you want to talk about regarding the trial? Hi, Ellie Catdales. You're horrified by the case? Yeah, it's pretty horrific, isn't it? You're still here. You can't sleep yet. Okay. So whoever's following the trial, let me know. You have been Dina Elizabeth? You've been watching Tonda? Doris Cabins, thanks for the recap. No, you got it spot on. Okay, thanks, Doris Cabin. Hi, Sammy Neiman. If there's anything that you want me to go over, or let me know. I'm just going to do one thing over here. Got to do. Okay. That's not good that she wasn't, no, that who wasn't scared of him? She was scared of him. She said that's why she didn't go to the police. That's what she said. Okay, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what her father, Sidney, has done in according to the hashtag that what's my name, okay? You can't watch it. It makes you too upset and angry, honey. You've been watching Dina. Okay. Let me tell you about the what's my name, okay? Okay, so they have the What's My Name Foundation. It's rideshare safety. And it's all about, of course, not having something like this ever happen again to anyone, right? So this is from the What's My Name Foundation, and you can find it at what'smyname.org. And if you go on their website, it says that Samantha's parents, Seymour and Marcy Josephson, set out to educate others on the importance of rideshare safety so that no other family would have to suffer this kind of loss. And the What's My Name Foundation, hashtag What's My Name Foundation, was established in honor of their daughter, Samantha Josephson. Okay, so they have several celebrities, including Joe Gatto, Darius Rooker, Jason Alexander, Bob Saget, who are participating in a new public service announcement where it focuses on increasing awareness of rideshare safety. The goal of the PSA is to prevent a tragedy like what happened to Samantha Josephson, who was killed by a fake rideshare driver 2 years ago. And they will, if you want, you can go to the website and you can see the PSAs that the celebrities did. You can also see, other magazines that have run this PSA, and I'll show you something here. 1 second. Pull this. I guess it's just going to make me pull this one over. Okay. So this is the hashtag What's My Name? Stop. This is what they call, her nickname is Sammy. So Samantha Sammy, SAMI, remember that. Stop. Review available safety features. A, ask, what's my name? M, match the license plate and the core model. I, inform, share ride details. Okay, and then let me pull this back for a minute because I need to go back here. Okay, so here's some other stuff. Seymour Josephson took the stage at Westlake Park in downtown Robinsonville, New Jersey, facing a few hundred silent onlookers and a dozen national broadcast cameramen. He collected himself for a moment before speaking, as those moments had recently become scant. Just 4 hours earlier, his daughter was enjoying her last semester at the University of South Carolina. A day later, on March 30th, he was trying to grasp her horrific death at the hands of a stranger. And they go on to tell their story and about how this movement, here's her parents. Get them here. Where did that just go? Hold on. Here we go. Parents. So back then, right after this happened, in 3 days, Josephson and his family's lives had become an unimaginable cycle of grieving, shock, and anger. As best he could, he explained this to the family, friends, and neighbors at his daughter's vigil. And I quote him saying, "I'm telling you, this is nothing you would ever want to do. You don't want to go through this." Samantha was a lifelong resident of Robbinsville, New Jersey, with a list of friends that likely makes up a good portion of her small hometown. She was a poli-sci major at USC, 2 months away from earning her bachelor's degree and preparing for courses at Drexel University, Thomas R. Klein School of Law, where she was offered a scholarship just months before. Her standing as a disciplined, inspiring student was offset by her reputation as a fun-loving, clumsy girl with a penchant for pranks and memorable stories her loved ones described as Sammy-isms. More than 24 friends from Robinsonville and Columbia took turns telling their favorite story of Samantha at the vigil, each one complimenting the history of a girl people found impossible to not be happy around. Okay, and then they went on, and you can read about some of the stories and stuff. And let's see here. They go through what happened and then what happened after that. So Seymour Josephson, they said, I want it out there because, hold on, let me go over here. he said, the father said, the idea of Samantha being murdered ate away at him, but it had to be said. I want it out there because he was a monster. I don't want anybody else to go through that as a parent. So Seymour and his wife, Marcy, began the call for bolstered ride-sharing safety laws on March 31st, just a day after learning of their daughter's death. At Columbia, they advocated for measures that would ensure more responsibility from ride-sharing services, specific license plate requirements, ride-share drivers indicators such as mounted lights, or a policy that drivers would greet their passengers in person, to name a few. Small improvements to safety, improvements which any one of its own could help potentially given Samantha pause before she entered the Impala that night, have picked up momentum since then. And then they go on to Chris Smith, who represents Robbinsville in the Congress, is currently writing what he calls common sense safety provisions to be included in the new law called Sammy's Law. The Josephsons launched a website called whatsmyname.org to educate people on rideshare safety tips and precautions. Okay, and this bill for Sammy's Law will include ride-sharing safety recommendations from the Josephsons, including an authentication requirement through a scannable code or quick response, and required from license plates on rideshare vehicles. So, required front license plates on rideshare vehicles, The hope is that the bill will establish national protocols that will save lives. Okay, and they already have, because a woman in Utah was saved because of it. Let's see. The bill was passed, had a 99-1 vote, progressed to the Senate, and they said Samantha is gone, but her story won't end with her death. There's lessons to be learned from the night she was lost, laws to enact that would protect other people. They announced a scholarship in her name for students pursuing degrees in poli-sci. Let's see. And you could read a lot on their website and about that. But yeah, and if I just go to, hold on one second, where I can see something here. I think I have a... They even have billboards that are like this. I'll show you. Hang on. That is on the mainland billboard, Route 72 in New Jersey, Manahawkin, New Jersey. And they're also having a support ride share safety 5K run that's going to be in Robbinsville, New Jersey on the 25th of September. And let's see, here's when her law, Sammy's Law is now officially law in New Jersey, and that was on June 20th of 2019. Okay, it was officially a law. Creates clear markings that make sure riders get into the correct car when using services like Uber and Lyft. What's my name? And I'll show you that when that happened. So this is when... when it was officially a law. So, you know, again, you can learn more about that on their website, but that's what the hashtag is. What's my name? It's not anything snarky to do with me or anything. I just want to make clear of that. Make that clear of that. So, all right, let's see who's here. So we have Two Scooter, Alicia, Bisso, Alma, Anna Sweden, Chewy Gum TV, Crystal Armstrong, Danielle, Deborah Ferris, Deborah Van Couverden, Deidre Realtor, Easily Distracted, Henny, Number One Fan, Jendo, Kim Chihuahuas, Kubi, Laura Anderson, Linda Uribe, Lisa H., LMWM50, Mimi Forsyth, Muppets and Manilow, Nurse of All Trades, Robbity Bob, Thankful and Grateful, Tina, and Tina Osborne, and Tina LC, and I don't know. Now, I don't know if we should go from here, or I'm wondering if I should just start another live for the other stuff, because I have to do a little bit of Happy Mail, and then I want to address that other stuff. So I think what I should do is start another live, because I'd like to just leave this one with the trial coverage. So will you guys, it's not going to give you a notification, and I'm going to do it immediately. Will you look right away for the new live? You love Barry Manilow. Hi, Baby Doe. Did you see the interview with Hunter, a boy who was there the day before she interviewed? Are you talking about another case? Are you talking about Summer Wells? Okay, so thank you, It's Bank. What I'm going to do is going to end this one, and I'm going to start a new one, because I want to keep this one on the trial. And I have some stuff that I just have to clear up, because it's gotten out of hand. And I'm not going to have someone, saying something really defamatory things. All right, so we will switch lives. Just refresh. I'm going to do it right now, okay? And then we can do the Happy Mail in there too. Thank you, Muppets and Mallow.